Good afternoon, YouTube. All right, I'm sitting here at the Publix on Howell Road in Tucker. This is the second day in a row that Instacart had a major outage with the app. So I've been sitting here since what time I got here? Let me see. I've been sitting here since a little bit after 11 o'clock. And of course, I always make this this is going to be my new starting point when I do Instacart. So I said, rather than me trying to go all the way to Sandy Springs or wherever that red dot may be, I said, okay, let me start over here in Tucker. Because if there's not enough orders that comes in, then I know I'll be closer to home. And then as the day progresses, then then I'll get an order. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the Tucker area, but it'll be somewhere in the vicinity where I'll get a request. So this morning, when I was sitting in the car watching YouTube videos and everything else, I get a request to do a grocery shop. So I'm in the Publix. I hit acknowledge, and then after that it had connectivity issues. So I said, wait a minute now. Now they has Wi-Fi in Publix. So I did everything what they always say to do. We have connectivity issues. Shut down the phone and see if you can get on to a website, Google, and do a search. And I did all that. Then I keep pressing to get the order, getting the order. Then after that, it said there was a problem, and we are aware of the issue. So I didn't even get to do the order because they had some outages. Certainly the customer order couldn't be fulfilled and everything else. So I was like, so let me call Instacart. So I'm sitting on the phone calling Instacart, and then it pops up, and then it says, please refrain from calling. We're aware of the outage and we're fixing a problem. Now, yesterday they had the same issue. Now, yesterday, I was so tired and I didn't start my block on time. So, of course, Instacart will log you off if you're not in the zone, and as long as you log on 2 hours before your block ends, then you won't get a incident report. So yesterday I went to my usual spot, which is I was driving down La Vista Road, and I got a request to go to the Kroger, which was so happened to be right up the street as I was driving. So from 4 o'clock, I was scheduled at 4 o'clock. From 5 o'clock until 10 o'clock last night, I got 4 deliveries. And I didn't make a whole lot of money either. In 3 hours, I made $40. That was it. It was small batches. It wasn't like 30-something items and everything else. But there was an outage yesterday as well. Now, I don't know what time the outage was yesterday, but it was an outage all day yesterday. And when I was able to log on, it said there's an outage. So, and that must have cleared when I started at 5 o'clock. So that means that if there was an outage yesterday, that means that outage would have been prior to me starting. So this weekend has not really been a good weekend for Instacart. Now, I don't know what kind of outage issues they're having or whatever the case may be, but I know one thing. Yesterday, it was Friday. Friday, I had traveled 15 miles from Whole Food on Roswell Road to Tucker. And I looked at it and I realized I didn't get my $5 bump in pay. And then another thing I realized was I had 2 orders that I did a delivery only, and when I checked the numbers, I don't believe I got paid for that either. So Instacart owes me at least $20, if not a little bit more. So I sent them an email. Of course, I have to wait for their response and whatever the case may be. And right now, my thing is not going to be, my shift is not going to be over till 11 o'clock tonight. Now, I don't know how long this outage is going to be, but I said, you know what? I'm going to sit here right at this Publix and wait until they fix the problem. And then I know that a lot of requests tend to come to Peachtree Corners. So I know last Sunday when I worked, and usually it's after church, 11 o'clock. People get out of church about noon? Not noon. What time do you get out of church? 1, 2 o'clock, the latest. So a lot of times people will request orders somewhere around 3, 4 o'clock, maybe 5. So I'm just going to sit here and wait until the problem is fixed. And then depending on if it's too long, then I'm not going to really worry about it because I didn't work a whole lot of hours this week anyway. But I need to check that because I know that I may have canceled a day, a block, but I don't usually cancel too many hours. So it's important that you look at your numbers and check it because you know what? If you just assume that your pay is correct, and that does not just go with Instacart, that goes with Uber, Uber Eats, all these apps. All these apps have been having problems. So if you don't keep on top and track your hours and track your pay, you could, they could turn around and you won't even notice if you got paid for the service. And you know what? I'm glad that I keep track of my things, especially on the mileage and the weighs, because I didn't know that it was a bump of $5 for distance pay. I mean, I already knew there was a $5 distance pay, but I figured that, well, if I go to a Publix, it's not the Publix that they suggested in the area, because sometimes you could be 15 miles or 10 miles from the Publix. So you go to the nearest Publix that's closest to you, and you go to the nearest Publix closest to you, or Kroger closest to you, and wherever that customer lives, you have to keep track of that mileage. So if it's 14 miles and beyond from the time that you leave the Publix or Kroger and you go into the person's house, and that Waze or Google Maps say 15 miles, 14, 15 miles, you better see a $5 bump in pay. Now, I did get a bump in pay yesterday, but I didn't get that $15 from the day before, which I knew for a fact it was 15 miles. And then it started making me wonder, how many orders have I done that was 14, 15 miles that I never got paid for, and I didn't really bother to notice. But you know what? I'm going to go back on the Waze history, and I'm going to go back and look at all of my order history and see, because trust me, you could be working and at the end of the week you get your direct deposit, you may be missing some money. So I'm just sitting here waiting, and I figured, you know what, I got TV on my phone, so I got direct TV, so I could at least look at some TV shows while I'm sitting here at this Publix in this dining area. And then if I get hungry, look at this, I'm in the supermarket. I could go ahead and use my EBT card and order food and eat my lunch and whatever case that I have to do. But anyway, so next week I start doing Amazon work from home. So my office is already set up. I have my big computer screens. I have my wireless mouse and keyboard. So now all I'm doing is waiting for them to deliver my headset, which should be coming sometime this week. And on the 14th, I'll be starting to work. And it's so ironic that it will be that day, because that was the day that I was let go from the IRS. The year to the day. So it's unfortunate to be working for Amazon, and the pay may not be great, but it just gives me a little bit more relief, because lately I've been so I ain't gonna say worried, but working all these different gigs, Instacart and doing Grubhub and all these other ride sharing jobs. I'm thankful that I was able to do those jobs and work and still pay my bills without having to tap into my 401k or my thrift account. Yeah, I've used up my emergency savings, but I'm going to build that back up. Have me an emergency fund. I'm so glad that I was able to build up my emergency fund. So the importance of that is that don't always take it for granted that whatever job you have is always secure, especially if you work in the government. The government job is not always secure, especially with Trump being in office and all these administrative changes that's going to occur. So don't always rest on your laurels that a job that you have is always secure, or you says, well, I got me a government job. I ain't, they can let you go at any time. You can be there for 10, 15, 20 years, and they could come to you and tell you, well, we got to let you go, and make up stuff. So I could imagine what they're doing to my former coworkers now, because I told them all the time, I'm not going to always rest on my laurels when it comes to working for the government. But anyway, I'm going to make another video, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.